They've hidden it for centuries, buried it under doctrine, erased it from the sky, and sealed it away in the vaults beneath Rome. Not because it was dangerous, but because it was liberating. There is a 13th sign in the zodiac, a missing constellation the ancients once revered as the doorway between worlds. You were never meant to know it existed. For thousands of years, humanity has been guided, labeled, and controlled through 12 signs, 12 houses, 12 archetypes we are taught to fit into like cages made of stardust. But there is another, the Serpent Bearer, Ophiuchus, the sign that breaks the cycle, the sign that frees the soul from the reincarnation matrix. Once, the ancients knew our souls were cosmic travelers. They believed our essence came from the stars, incarnating again and again in a loop until we remembered who we truly are. But to keep beings trapped, you must first control how they perceive themselves. And that begins with identity. So the zodiac wasn't created to guide humanity. It was created to categorize it. 12 signs, 12 personalities, 12 containers, a cosmic filing system. But if there are 12 boxes and one soul refuses to be put in any of them, what happens then? You awaken. You become unpredictable. You remember. That is why Ophiuchus had to be removed, because this sign didn't reinforce the cage. It shattered it. Astronomers know this. Astrophysicists know this. The Vatican has known it for over 1,900 years. And yet the average person has never even heard of it. The constellation of Ophiuchus sits directly on the ecliptic, the path the sun travels through the sky, which means that by definition, it is a zodiac sign. The sun passes through it every year from November 29th to December 17th. Your birth chart might be completely different than you were taught, but someone decided you shouldn't know that. Why? Because Ophiuchus is the energy of awakening. The serpent is the symbol of ascension. And if humanity ever remembered its relationship with the serpent, control would collapse. In ancient civilizations, the serpent symbolized knowledge, healing, resurrection, and transformation. But what do we associate the serpent with today? Sin, temptation, evil. That rewrite was not an accident. Long before organized religion, the serpent was sacred. It represented Kundalini, the divine energy coiled at the base of the spine. When awakened, it brings enlightenment. And in myth, there was one being who mastered the serpent, Asclepius, the healer, the resurrection god. The constellation of Ophiuchus is Asclepius. He held the serpent not as a threat, but as a teacher, a symbol of transcending death, a reminder that life is not linear and that the soul can break free from the endless wheel of reincarnation. His teachings offered humanity the ultimate heresy. You are not supposed to stay trapped here. But stories like that don't fit inside systems of control. So the Vatican needed a narrative where the serpent was not a liberator, but the enemy. The serpent that gives knowledge becomes the devil in the garden. The serpent that heals becomes forbidden. The serpent that awakens becomes feared. And the sign of Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, becomes erased. Almost no school teaches that the zodiac used today, the one you're told defines you, is based on a map created over 2,000 years ago. Since then, the Earth has tilted on its axis, the stars have moved, the constellations have shifted, yet astrology stayed frozen. Why? Because if astrology evolved with the truth of the sky, people would notice the 13th sign. They would notice that the map never matched the heavens, and they would start to ask questions. Why 12? Why not 13? 12 is the number of order. 12 12 is structure, 12 is containment. There are 12 apostles, 12 tribes of Israel, 12 jurors, 12 months, 12 hours on a clock. The number has been woven into every system that governs us because 12 is the number of control. 13 breaks structure, 13 defies containment. That's why 13 has been turned into a symbol of fear. Unlucky, cursed, avoided. Buildings skip the 13th floor. Hotels skip room 13. Airlines skip row 13. Society avoids the number like it's radioactive. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if 13 is the most sacred number of all? In esoteric knowledge, 12 represents the material world. 13 is transcendence of it. 12 is the wheel. 13 is the one who steps off the wheel. The archons, those who feed off the energy of human souls, need the wheel. They need the cycle. They need reincarnation to continue. Because the longer humanity forgets who it is, the more they feed. So they divide us by zodiac sign, by beliefs, by identities, by personality categories. Anything that reduces an infinite soul into something predictable is useful. But Ophiuchus cannot be used. The Serpent Bearer breaks patterns instead of fulfilling them. He does not reincarnate in loops. He ascends. He does not follow destiny. He rewrites it. Ophiuchus reveals what the ancients always believed. Astrology was meant to be a doorway, not a prison. Because the truth is, you are not defined by your star sign. You are defined by the energy you activate within yourself. And that energy awakens the moment you realize you were never meant to be categorized. You were meant to remember. The erasure of Ophiuchus is not just an astronomical omission. It is a spiritual cover-up. The Council of Nicaea, the same gathering that decided which texts would form the Bible and which would be banned, removed every reference that suggested humans could reach divine knowledge without an intermediary. Gnostic texts removed. Gospel of Mary Magdalene removed. Book of Enoch removed. Teachings that encourage self-realization removed. Anything that suggested a person could awaken without the church was forbidden. And Ophiuchus, the sign connected to Kundalini and spiritual awakening, became the greatest forbidden symbol of all. Because if you awaken, you cannot be ruled. When you remove the 13th sign, something subtle but powerful happens. Humanity stays trapped in a loop, cycles repeat, patterns return, lessons recycle. The ancients called it the wheel of fate. Today we call it reincarnation. But it was never supposed to be endless. In lost esoteric schools, the teaching was simple. The soul incarnates until it becomes conscious that it is not bound to incarnate. Awakening breaks the cycle. And that is what Ophiuchus represented. The completion of the human journey, the 13th energy, the moment when the soul stops repeating and starts remembering. The number 13 was the key. 12 disciples surrounded Jesus, but Jesus was the 13th. 12 knights sat at King Arthur's round table, but Arthur was the 13th. 12 constellations in the zodiac, Ophiuchus is the 13th. The enlightened one stands outside the circle that everyone else is trapped inside. That's the pattern. The one who sees the system escapes the system. So the question is not, what's your zodiac sign? The real question is, who benefits from convincing you that you are only 12 things? Because the moment you accept a label given to you, you forget the label you were born with, infinite. While you're identified, you are controllable. While you're awakening, you are uncontrollable. And Ophiuchus symbolizes the uncontrollable human, the one who cannot be classified, cannot be predicted, cannot be manipulated. He holds the serpent not because he dominates it, but because he understands it. The serpent represents the energy coiled at the base of your spine, the dormant power every human carries, waiting for activation. Kundalini. When it rises, it travels through the chakras, the internal zodiac, unlocking levels of consciousness the church has spent centuries trying to suppress. Because once Kundalini rises, you no longer fear the world. You understand it. You no longer worship gods. You realize you are made of the same source. You no longer obey, you choose. The serpent was never your enemy. It was a mirror. In ancient temples of Egypt, initiates would sit in darkness for days. They fasted, they meditated, their breath slowed, their minds quieted, and when at last they crossed the threshold into trance, they saw the serpent. Not a creature, a spiral, a frequency, a rising. The moment it reached the crown, they left their body and saw themselves from above, not as a person, but as awareness. Those who experienced it were called children of the serpent. In tribes across South America, shamans drank plant medicine to awaken the same force. They called it the Great Serpent, Quetzalcoatl, the Feathered One, spirit that flies on serpent wings. The Egyptians called it Uraeus, the serpent rising from the forehead. The Greeks called it Asclepius. Everywhere the serpent meant knowledge. Only in one tradition did the serpent become evil. Only in one story did the serpent become the deceiver. Only in one book did the serpent become the enemy of God. The Vatican needed humanity to fear the serpent, because whoever controls your symbols controls your subconscious. If they can make you fear the serpent, they can make you fear awakening. If they can make you fear forbidden knowledge, they can make you fear questioning. If they can make you fear leaving the cage, you will never notice the bars. The soul trap isn't physical, it's psychological. You are not trapped here by force. You are trapped here by belief. Belief that you are small. Belief that you are insignificant. Belief that you are powerless. But the serpent whispers a different truth. Wake up. Remember. Rise. The matrix isn't a structure around you. It's a structure within you. The archons don't need walls to imprison you. They only need your consent. Every time you repeat the identity you were given, you strengthen your cage. Every time you say, I'm a Libra, I'm a Gemini, I'm a Capricorn, you unknowingly reinforce 2,000-year-old astrological programming that reduces your infinite complexity into one of 12 predictable patterns. But Ophiuchus does not fit into prediction. Ophiuchus bends destiny. The myth says Asclepius became so wise, so conscious, that he learned to raise the dead. He could see the matrix from outside of it. He could step in and out of incarnation at will. That terrified the gods, because if one soul learns how to break the cycle, all souls can. So they killed him. They struck him down with a thunderbolt, but they couldn't destroy him. They could only erase him. They removed him from the stories. They removed him from the scriptures. They removed him from the sky. For nearly 2,000 years, humanity has been taught that the zodiac is complete at 12. They don't tell you that the sun passes through Ophiuchus every year. They don't tell you that NASA rediscovered it and quietly announced it in 2011. They don't tell you that the symbol of modern medicine, the rod with the serpent wrapped around it, is not Christian, not Roman, not scientific. It is the symbol of Asclepius, the Serpent Bearer, the missing sign, the 13th energy. Medicine still carries his symbol, but his story was removed. Even now, his presence lives on, encoded into every hospital, clinic, and pharmacy. The serpent and the staff, the caduceus, is the symbol humanity sees every day, without ever realizing who it belongs to. Every time a doctor heals a body, they are performing Asclepius's work. Every time someone awakens, they are following Asclepius's path. But imagine what would happen if humanity suddenly remembered that truth. Imagine a world where humans knew that the body can heal, where the mind can awaken, where the soul can ascend. You cannot govern a species that remembers it is sovereign. You cannot enslave a consciousness that realizes it is eternal. Ophiuchus is not a zodiac sign, it's a rebellion. The missing sign is the sign of liberation. There are forces on this planet that harvest human energy, forces that feed on fear, pain, and emotional turmoil. They require the matrix to stay in place. They require reincarnation to loop. They require humans to forget. They are not gods. They are parasites. Ancient texts called them the archons. They rule by deception, not by power. They manipulate perception so you never realize that reality bends to you, not the other way around. You are the projector. The world you see is the projection. They don't want you to know that, because a conscious creator cannot be controlled. A conscious creator cannot be farmed, so they hide anything that leads to remembrance. They hide the 13th sign. They hide Gnostic teachings. They hide texts that say, the kingdom of God is within you. They need separation. They need hierarchy. They need you to believe God is above you, guiding you, judging you, because if God is outside you, you will spend your entire life searching. But when you realize God is inside you, everything changes. The archons lose their power. The matrix loses its hold. You stop obeying. You start choosing. You stop living someone else's destiny. You start creating your own. Where does Ophiuchus fit into your life? It whispers the questions you are trained never to ask. What if I am not here to be defined, but to be remembered? What if I incarnated not to learn, but to awaken? What if I'm not repeating, but ascending? You don't break the reincarnation wheel by perfecting your zodiac archetype. You break the wheel by stepping off of it. You stop being one of the 12. You become the 13th. And that is terrifying to those who build the system. They do not fear humanity asleep. They fear humanity awakened. You don't need to activate anything new. You only need to remove what was placed on top of you. Beliefs, identities, labels, fear, doubt. All of that was programming. None of that was you. You are not here to fit into a constellation. You are here to realize that the constellations are inside you. Your spine is the serpent. Your chakras are the stars. Your consciousness is the sky. The zodiac isn't above you. It's within you. The 13th sign isn't missing. It was hiding in the only place no one thought to look, inside your awakening. When Kundalini rises, you feel it. Heat at the base of the spine, a vibration spreading upward, a pressure behind the eyes, a flash of light in the mind. The serpent climbs. First chakra, second chakra, third chakra. You confront your fear. You confront your desire. You confront your power. Fourth chakra, heart. Here, something changes. You realize you are not alone. You realize consciousness is connected. You realize love is not emotion, but frequency. The serpent continues. Fifth chakra, truth. You speak without fear. You express without shame. You remember your voice. Sixth chakra, vision. The inner eye opens, dreams become clear. Synchronicities multiply, reality bends. Seventh chakra, crown. And suddenly, you understand. You were never inside the matrix. The matrix was inside you. The moment consciousness returns, the prison dissolves. There is no trap, only illusion. There is no reincarnation cycle, only forgetting. And Ophiuchus is not a constellation. It is the memory of what you truly are. The Vatican didn't erase a star sign. They erased the symbol that reveals the soul. They erased awakening. But symbols cannot die, truth cannot be erased, and you cannot be trapped. You are the Serpent Bearer. You are the 13th. You are the one who steps off the wheel. Remember, wake up, rise,